Well, back again. Now we are in fourth hour. Fourth hour, you guys say hello. Now, uh, do not want to give a shout out to Devin Carter, but we will give a shout out to Jesse Evans, who was just surveyed on how many times he goes to the bathroom because he drinks a 2 liter of Dr. Pepper in class, and not to mention like 8 Red Bulls and all the rest. All right. Hey, Mr. Taj Thomas. He is uh, our timer today. So let's get this going since we are on the clock. Now, one of the first times that we see uh, a kind of head-to-head standoff between the Soviets and the U.S. during this Cold War is going to be in Berlin. And the Soviets thought that if they blockaded the roads coming into Berlin, that they would be able to um, kind of force the British and the U.S. to give up Berlin. Because remember, the city of Berlin is the capital of Germany and East and West Germany, but it's divided in half and it's located in East Germany. And so the Soviets thought, well, if I do this, the U.S. and the British will just give up and we'll just take all of Berlin, and they can create their own new capital on West Germany's side, anyways. And the U.S. was like, no way. And we should know, and the Soviets should know that after all of the production, after all the logistics of moving supplies and human beings and everything around the world during World War II, that they should have known that we would be able to do whatever we needed to do. And so we moved a ton of crap into West Berlin so that the people in West Berlin could survive. Food, water, all types of essential stuff. And as you can see, over 200,000 flights, all right, were put in there over the course from June 24th, all right, to May of 49. So almost a full year, 200,000 flights, all right. All the necessities for the city's 2.5 million residents, 4,500 tons in food, coal, and other materials were brought in. On the biggest day in the Easter parade of April 16, 1949, the airlift sent in 1,398 flights. That means that they were landing a plane every minute onto the landing strip. Can you imagine sitting at Detroit Metro Airport and seeing a plane land every minute? I mean, they barely got time to get off the runway and the next one's coming in. So it was a huge, huge endeavor. And the world was sitting there watching this, and they're like, who's going to blink first? And the Soviets did. The United States won. The United States showed them that, listen, we've got a system, capitalism, our democracy. You can't beat our system. We can supply everything we need and get it done. And it was the first kind of like black eye to the Soviets because their plan didn't work. We outlasted them. So that's the Berlin airlift bringing all these supplies in. Now, we also take a hit. When we get back to, remember the Chinese Revolution, Chiang Kai-shek, or otherwise known as Jiang Zeshi, he's the guy that was kind of the U.S. puppet there. We supported him, and he lost to Mao Zedong and the CCP party. And the next thing you know, the largest population in the world turns to communist. And if you look at Asia, you now have China and the Soviet Union being communist next to each other. And like the video shows, they were trying to work together, but it's not really going to work out. And so even though they're both going to be communists, they're just different in their approach. All right. Then from 1950 to 1953 is the Korean War. All right, North Korea invades South Korea past the 45th, 48th, 49th parallel. 38th parallel. 38th parallel. Sorry. So the 38th parallel is the dividing line between North and South Korea. North Korea invades. Next thing you know, this is so close to after being with World War II that General MacArthur and a lot of the stuff that people that we had in the Pacific for World War II are there and ready to rock and roll. And this is kind of like the first UN police action after it's established. And you see the US push the North Koreans out of South Korea. And you now feel this Cold War tension because MacArthur, who is like blatantly like, I want to go, like openly says, I want to go through North Korea and then get into China and whoop their butt too. And let's just end this whole communist thing. So much so that MacArthur gets pulled from being the general and they put somebody else in. They're like, dude, you can't be saying that. Well, and this is why they, even today with North Korea is a buffer between democratic South Korea, supported by the US, and communist China. And so much that as the Americans were pushing up through North Korea, the Chinese were sending troops into North Korea, and you had US and Chinese forces fighting each other. And this was a very dangerous, delicate situation because just got done with World War II. Why in the heck do we want to go back to a war with China now? It is the largest population in the world. Why would we want to do that? And so it was very, 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 very delicate. Like I said, MacArthur wanted to roll. The U.S. was like, no, we don't want to do it. Clinton, you have a question? Soviet Chinese influence. More after this are under Chinese influence. And then once you get, I mean, the Kim dynasty is the one that really kind of is like, we're going to do our own thing, just stay out of here. And so even today, China doesn't have much influence over what Kim Jong-un is doing over there. So now we get to Vietnam. All right. And we talked about, how much time do I got, Josh? 36 seconds. Holy crap. All right, so we are going to stop here. We'll come back to this. Let's see how many we got. 1, 2. We got a lot, but there's a lot of stuff that we'll be able to kind of skip over. But all right, so we're going to take off right now. I'll talk to you guys later. Everybody say goodbye. Bye, you. Bye, Karen.